Hello, everyone. I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. And today I want to finally talk about the Snyder Cut and some of the news and whatnot that's been coming out about Warner Brothers' plans for Superman in film and whatnot and what's going on here. It might be kind of a surprise to people that I've waited this long to talk about it. So I'll address that first, and then I'll go into what the general arguments or the general statements or feelings about it are right now, and then what I think about it. As to why I waited so long to talk about this, to be completely honest, I find it, I truly found it mind-boggling how clueless Warner Brothers continues to be about how to manage these characters. They truly... It's still. I mean, we've been beating this drum forever, talking about how they have no idea who these characters are, or how they should be portrayed. They know how they should be betrayed. They do that quite well, but they have no idea how to portray them. And you would think that with all of this that's happened, with all of the consequences they brought down upon themselves, I mean, think about how much money they lost by pursuing the Snyder route, all the way through Justice League. And the Snyder Bros don't even try to delude yourselves and think, well, it lost money because they didn't follow Snyder's vision. It is not even remotely true. Those movies were divisive and lost money from the start. The problem was Snyder's view, Snyder's vision. That was the problem. But they just doubled down, bowled through with it. Then they started to just throw anything against the wall and see what stuck. And well, people kind of like this with Wonder Woman, so let's keep going with that. But then that suffered from the Snyder touches and Snyder connections too, and as did Aquaman, and none of it works. And then finally they got a little bit of success. They got a little bit of success by trying to cut off Aquaman from the Justice League, at least thematic touch, if not the storyline and continuity. And they tried to cut off Shazam, even though the director solidly tied it to the storyline with his stupid little Easter eggs. And they started to get a little bit of success by that more lighthearted touch that's appropriate to DC characters. And yet they're so reactionary. They don't want to just do what's right for the characters and do what's right for these characters on film. They just have to react to everything. And then the vocal minority, and make no mistake, it is a very vocal, very minority that calls for the Snyder Cut, that wants that likes the Snyder vision. They bow to it. They bow to it. Not only do they bow to it and just give it a Snyder Cut, just release it. They're also celebrating it. They're making it a part of their little DC online convention thing that they're doing with the Wonder Woman and the Batman v Superman and all this kind of stuff are going on. It's a dangerous game they're playing. They're still trying to think they can just make everybody happy. And if the entire past has taught them nothing else, it's that no, you can't. So let me cover what people are saying mostly about this Snyder Cut business. On the one hand, you've got the Snyder Bros, who think, as I've already stated, oh, this is, great. Finally, we'll get to see the culmination of his vision. As though there's any way that a Snyder Cut of the Justice League film will bring everybody on board. Please do not fool yourselves into thinking that, oh, if you just saw the way Snyder wanted these characters to develop, then you'd be on board. Then you'd understand what he was doing with Man of Steel and all these things. No. There's no possible way to fix the character assassinations that man perpetrated upon these characters in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. There's no way to do that. As I've said a million times, you cannot turn a character into an aspirational character. They're that from the start, or they're not that at all. I don't want to hear about how Superman just had to become that and he had to, have these moral failings and have these. No. So there's that nonsense coming from the Snyder Bros. Then you've got other people who are thinking, well, look, what's the big deal? They're not bringing Zack Snyder back, at least yet, right? Apparently JJ Abrams, like he's, got some sort of credit and has earned the right to touch Superman at all. But they're not bringing Zack Snyder back to make more movies. So what's the big deal? The Snyder fans want a Snyder Cut. Why not just let them have it? What's the big deal? Well, here's the big deal. it's not just they're getting their cut and that's all. As I've already hinted at, Warner Brothers is leaning in that direction a little bit again. Again, they're not going to hire him back as of yet, but nothing's off the table for Warner Brothers. They are that reactionary, and they are that they've wanted to get away from the Snyder continuity with these sequels and whatnot. And you let them think that the Zack Snyder cut is popular enough, they'll swing back in that direction in a heartbeat. Don't fool yourself and think they won't. They're already talking about bringing Cavill back as Superman, which is nonsense. That man does not deserve to wear that S-shield at all. That's probably another video, but I'll see if I can circle around to some of that right now. So what's the big deal? The fans just want it. Well, it's not just that. It is a problem. The characters' portrayals continues to be out there. But see, here's the thing. There's been a lot of people out there trying to liken any dissent from the Snyder Cut to SJWism. Oh, well, you're just like the SJWs who want, just only want the, your versions of this, and that. No. The Snyder Bros are the SJWs, not literally, but they're the ones who are acting just like them in this method here. And I'll spell this out for you. It's one thing to enjoy nihilistic stories and fiction, and you like anti-heroes, and you like stories about flawed and deeply flawed characters, and there's moral ambiguity, and there's a lot of realism, and that if you just like that kind of stuff, that's one thing. That's your taste. All right, I don't understand that, but that's your taste, and that's you. That's fine. It's quite another thing to say, this is my taste, and therefore I want to go out and remake all of the existing characters and their stories in the image of my taste. That is what the SJWs do all the time. And that is what the Snyder Bros would do when they double down and just try to insist that these are good versions of these characters. And they say stupid things like, I couldn't care less about Superman until I watched these movies. Well, that tells you right there everything you need to know. Then you've got the really delusional people trying to argue that these are the true interpretations of the characters. Not at all. Not even remotely true. So the Snyder Bros are the ones out here trying to take something that already exists and reshape it to their liking. There is absolutely no difference. And oh boy, this is going to make some people mad and they won't want to like this at all. But think about it. There's no difference. I'm sorry if you can't accept it, but there is no difference between what Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson did to Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi and what Zack Snyder has done to Superman since Man of Steel, all the way up to his precious little Snyder Cut. There is absolutely no difference. Both of those people took a aspirational character who is one of the precious few aspirational characters. We don't have many of them in the public consciousness. And they said, oh, you know what? It would be really original and really unique if we took that character and just gave him the treatment we give every other character. So he's got to go through a lot of moral failings and a lot of self-doubt and a lot of weakness and wonder about this and that before he can maybe kind of learn to do the right thing, possibly. But there's really no clear-cut right way because it's not fun and it's not funny. It's, we have to really show this. No, you took one of the precious few aspirational characters and the story surrounding that character and just dragged it down and threw mud on it and remade it according to your taste. You're no different than Kathleen Kennedy. You're no different than the SJWs. It's the exact same thing. I'm sorry that you can't see that. And people act like this is he's going to show us, look at Man of Steel, how in the end he really does go and try to save people. What did Man of Steel teach? What did even Batman v Superman teach? What did even the Justice League Superman teach? Nothing. There's no continuity there. This is the kind of behavior, the kind of actions that the Zack Snyder heroes teach people. And you see this borne out in the behaviors of the Snyder Bros, of those people who try to argue for them and try to slam down anybody who dares to say anything dissenting. Zack Snyder, Henry Cavill's quote-unquote Superman, doesn't teach anybody how to be a man, how to stand up for what's right. He teaches you how to walk away from the truck driver and instead wrap his truck around a bunch of telephone poles and be a passive-aggressive little wimp. That's what he teaches. And what do you see the Snyder Bros do? You see them hiding behind their fake names and going out and trolling anybody on the internet who would dare speak against it. You see them hiding, I'm Jimmy Wonder, and I'm going to go out and talk about anybody who dares say something against the Wonder Woman movies, or this is going to be my name, and I'm going to go out there and you just look. You'll see them in the comment section of this video eventually, and most of them won't even get to this point to have that self-awareness that they're doing the exact thing I'm talking about. That's what they do. And you say, well, that was in the beginning of the movie. What about towards the end? What about towards the end? He just completely levels the city to kind of sort of maybe save some people, and it made no sense that he snapped Zod's neck. Stop trying to defend that and act like that even remotely made sense. It doesn't. There's a million different things he could have done in his own complete and total lack of morality and responsibility and anything. He's just acting out without thought, without experience, without anything. And you can say, well, it made sense because the character didn't have this. That's not the right story to tell for Superman. You have got your Spider-Man. You have got your Daredevil. You've got your Green Arrows. Go have all the flippin' fun you want with those characters who can be treated in that manner, who can overcome their own moral failings, overcome this and that. You've got a million of them, but nope, that's not good enough for you. Just like Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson, you need to go get your dirty little fingers on Superman and muddy him up and throw him down, and the Snyder Cut's going to be amazing. You are what's wrong with the world today. You truly are. You are what's wrong with the world. Whether you've gone all the way into these kinds of behaviors yourself, or whether you're just sitting there championing the Snyder Cut and why it should still be a thing, and why Cavill should still come back and play Superman, even though he's multiple times said that it's just something he does for the money, and playing Superman's kind of like having sex. Once you do it once, you kind of get a little bit more of the hang of it. This is not the man who deserves to wear that S-shield. JJ Abrams is not the man who deserves to come in and make a movie after the ridiculous. Talk about Zack Snyder's character assassination of Superman. Read up on the scripts and the types of movies JJ Abrams has tried to make for Superman a couple of times. No, he has no business touching this character in any way. But if you support that, then you're just supporting the degradation of these goals, these standards, these moral standards that the aspirational characters are. And there's absolutely no difference between you and those who try to argue that Last Jedi was an amazing film because it made sense that Luke Skywalker, towards the end of his life, this would be the older hero's journey, as though that's even a thing. No, stop deluding yourselves. If you like those kinds of stories, your taste just happens to run to the morally ambiguous and the nihilistic and the anti-hero and stuff like that, there's a place for that kind of thing. There's a place, and we do need a measure of that. And if that's just the area that your taste naturally runs to, you might think, well, I like that, and now Zack Snyder's making these movies that are to my taste, so why can't I like it? You can like it all you want, but you can't tell me that you're any different from the cultural deconstructionists out there in the SJW's camp. If you think there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever, and that we should be able to take any of the precious few characters we have out there remaining for aspirational and just totally remake them to your liking and to your taste, no. The Snyder Cut, even if it is nothing more than just a Snyder Cut released on the HBO service and it'll never become anything else, even if that's all that happens, and I don't think that probably is going to be all that happens. Like I said, Warner Brothers is incredibly reactionary and prone to just throw stuff against the wall to see what sticks. But let's say even if that's all that happens, it just becomes a thing in the universe now. Even that is enough to do damage to our culture, to our mythology, to these characters who your average person on the street growing up now, I see this with my students all the time, they have no concept or no clue that Superman's supposed to be standing for truth, justice, and the American way, or supposed to be. Ever since the New 52 and Zack Snyder's vision and the way Warner Brothers has just doubled down and pushed it through, Superman's nothing. He's no kind of bastion or standard to young people, just as Luke Skywalker is nothing anymore. And you're part of that. You are part of that. Congratulations. You are what's wrong with the world today.